Listen up, XRP holders. What I'm about to tell you could literally change your financial future forever. I'm not here to hype you up with empty promises or clickbait nonsense. I'm here to share information that could make the difference between you missing out on generational wealth or positioning yourself for the biggest financial opportunity of our lifetime. I've been deep in the XRP ecosystem for years, and what's happening right now is unlike anything I've ever seen. The pieces are falling into place so perfectly that it feels almost orchestrated. But here's the thing, most people are completely blind to what's coming. They're focused on the noise, the day-to-day price movements, the food, the hopium. They're missing the massive infrastructure play that's unfolding right before our eyes. Before I dive into this, I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't financial advice. I'm just a guy who's been studying this space obsessively, connecting dots that most people either can't see or refuse to acknowledge. What I'm about to share with you is based on publicly available information, regulatory filings, partnerships, and statements from some of the most powerful people in global finance. But you need to do your own research and make your own decisions. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager with over $10 trillion under management, suddenly became so bullish on crypto? Have you questioned why Larry Fink went from calling Bitcoin an index of money laundering to predicting it could hit $500,000 to $700,000? This isn't just about Bitcoin, folks. This is about a complete restructuring of the global financial system, and XRP is positioned to be at the center of it all. Here's what's really happening behind the scenes. The traditional financial rails that have been moving money around the world for decades are breaking down. SWIFT, the network that handles most international payments, is slow, expensive, and frankly, outdated. Banks are losing billions of dollars every year in correspondent banking fees, settlement delays, and liquidity issues. They know they need a solution, and they need it fast. Enter XRP and the XRP ledger. This isn't just another cryptocurrency that people trade for quick profits. This is financial infrastructure. This is the settlement layer that major banks and financial institutions are quietly adopting to solve their most expensive problems. And most retail investors have no idea how massive this opportunity really is. Let me break down exactly what's happening in the XRP ecosystem right now and why this could be your last chance to position yourself before this thing explodes. First, let's talk about the global payment rails. Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, recently stated that he believes Ripple could capture 14% of Swift's business within the next 5 years. Now, that might not sound like a huge number to you, but let me put this in perspective. Swift processes over $5 trillion in payments every single day. 14% of that is $700 billion daily. That's not annual, that's daily transaction volume that could be flowing through XRP. But here's the kicker. Brad didn't just throw out a random number. When executives make specific predictions like 14% instead of saying 10 or 15%, it means they've done the math. They've modeled this out. They know exactly which financial institutions they're working with, which partnerships are in the pipeline, and what kind of market share they can realistically capture. This isn't hopeful thinking, this is strategic planning. The migration to ISO 2022 is happening right now as we speak. This is the new global messaging standard that all financial institutions are required to adopt. By November of this year, 86% of SWIFT payments will be using ISO 2022 messaging. And here's what most people don't understand. ISO 2022 isn't just about messaging, it's about settlement. It creates the technical infrastructure for instant, crypto-based settlements. XRP is one of the only cryptocurrencies that's fully compatible with ISO 2022. While Bitcoin maximalists are arguing about whether it's digital gold or a medium of exchange, XRP is being integrated into the actual plumbing of the global financial system. Banks aren't adopting XRP because they believe in decentralization or because they want to stick it to the government. They're adopting it because it saves them massive amounts of money and solves real operational problems. Now let's talk about central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Whether you like them or not, they're coming. 95% of central banks worldwide are either testing, piloting, or rolling out CBDCs. And guess whose name keeps coming up in these projects? Ripple. Over and over again, central banks are choosing Ripple's technology to build their digital currency infrastructure. Think about what this means. When countries launch their CBDCs, they're going to need a way to move value between different digital currencies instantly and efficiently. They're going to need liquidity bridges. They're going to need settlement rails. And XRP is positioned to be the global bridge currency that enables all of this. The European Central Bank is making their final decision on the digital euro next month. Japan is moving forward with their digital yen pilot programs. China already has their digital yuan in circulation. The United States is exploring a digital dollar. All of these digital currencies are going to need to interact with each other, and XRP is the most likely candidate to facilitate those interactions. But it gets even bigger. The tokenization of real-world assets is about to explode. Nasdaq's CEO just announced that they're moving toward tokenizing stocks so that people around the world can buy fractional shares instantly with T+0 settlement. Think about the trillions of dollars in stocks, bonds, commodities, and real estate that could be tokenized and moved onto blockchain rails. The DTCC, which handles the settlement for virtually all US stock trades, has been working on blockchain integration for years. They've published papers specifically mentioning XRP as a potential settlement currency. When Nasdaq tokenizes stocks and the DTCC moves to blockchain settlement, what do you think they're going to use for instant global liquidity? Ripple hasn't been sitting idle while all of this develops. They've been strategically acquiring financial infrastructure companies left and right. They bought Metaco, a digital asset custody platform. They bought Fortress Trust, a chartered trust company. They bought Hidden Road, a digital asset trading platform. Most recently, they acquired Rail, which processes 10% of global business-to-business stablecoin transactions. These aren't random acquisitions. This is Ripple positioning itself to control as much of the digital asset infrastructure as possible. They know that thousands of banks and financial institutions are going to need crypto infrastructure, and there are only so many quality providers in the market. By acquiring these companies, Ripple is creating a vertically integrated financial services ecosystem. And the people joining Ripple's board should tell you everything you need to know about where this is heading. The former Treasurer of the United States is on Ripple's board. Former Federal Reserve officials are advising the company. These aren't cryptocurrency enthusiasts. These are people who understand how the global financial system actually works, and they're betting their reputations on Ripple's success. Here's what really keeps me up at night though: the supply dynamics. Most people look at XRP's price and think it's cheap because there are a lot of tokens. But they're not looking at the available supply. Simon McLaughlin from Uphold just confirmed that most of the XRP held on exchanges belongs to customers, not the exchanges themselves. This means the actual liquid supply available for new buyers is much smaller than people realize. I estimate there are only 1 to 3 billion XRP actually available for purchase right now. Everything else is either locked up in escrow, held by long-term holders, or already allocated to institutional partnerships. When XRP ETFs get approved, and they will get approved, where is that XRP going to come from? Look at what happened with Bitcoin ETFs. Billions of dollars flowed into Bitcoin ETFs in their first few months, driving the price from around $40,000 to over $70,000. Bitcoin has a much larger liquid supply than XRP. If the same amount of money flows into XRP ETFs, the price impact could be absolutely massive. And speaking of ETFs, the writing is on the wall. Multiple asset managers are preparing XRP ETF applications. The regulatory clarity is coming. Gary Gensler won't be SEC chairman forever, and his replacement is likely to be much more crypto-friendly. When XRP gets regulatory clarity and ETF approval, institutional money is going to flood into this market like a tsunami. But here's where it gets really interesting. Larry Fink's prediction that Bitcoin could hit $500,000 to $700,000 isn't just bullish for Bitcoin, it's incredibly bullish for XRP. If Bitcoin's market cap increases by 7 to 10 times, and XRP maintains even half of its current market share relative to Bitcoin, we're looking at XRP prices in the hundreds of dollars. But XRP doesn't need to maintain market share. It could actually gain market share as institutional adoption accelerates. Bitcoin is primarily a store of value play. XRP is actual financial infrastructure. When banks need to move trillions of dollars instantly and cheaply, they're not going to use Bitcoin, they're going to use XRP. Now, I want to be completely honest with you about the extreme price predictions you hear floating around. Some people are talking about XRP hitting $1,000 or more. Is that possible? Mathematically, yes. But it would require some pretty catastrophic things to happen to the current financial system. Jay Clayton, the former SEC chairman, has said that his predictions of $700 to $1,000 XRP would require multiple systemic failures. Things like the collapse of the Japanese bond market, the collapse of Tether, major banking crises, hyperinflation. These aren't impossible scenarios, but they're not base case scenarios either. My personal belief is that we're more likely to see XRP in the $20 to $100 range over the next few years as adoption accelerates and regulatory clarity improves. But here's the thing. Even $20 represents a 40-fold increase from current prices. Even $50 represents a 100-fold increase. These are still life-changing returns for anyone who positions themselves correctly. The whale activity we're seeing right now should be a massive signal to retail investors. Billions of dollars worth of XRP are being moved off exchanges and into private wallets. This is the same pattern we saw with Bitcoin before its massive run-up. Smart money is accumulating while retail investors are distracted by day-to-day noise. I've been tracking whale movements for months, and the accumulation pattern is undeniable. Large holders are not selling, they're buying and holding for the long term. They understand what's coming better than the average retail investor who's worried about daily price movements. Let me paint you a picture of what I think the next 12 to 18 months could look like for XRP holders. First, we're going to get regulatory clarity, whether it's through the courts, through new SEC leadership, or through congressional action. The regulatory overhang is going to be lifted. When that happens, American institutions that have been sitting on the sidelines are going to start allocating to XRP. Second, XRP ETFs are going to be approved and launched. Multiple asset managers are going to want a piece of this market, and they're going to compete for AUM by launching their own funds. This is going to create sustained buying pressure unlike anything we've seen in the XRP market. Third, central bank partnerships are going to be announced. Countries that have been quietly testing Ripple's technology are going to start making public commitments. When major economies announce they're using XRP for international settlements or CBDC infrastructure, the market is going to react violently to the upside. Fourth, traditional financial institutions are going to start announcing significant XRP partnerships. We're already seeing this with BBVA and others, but this is just the beginning. When major US banks start using XRP for correspondent banking, or when payment processors start settling in XRP, the utility value is going to drive sustained demand. But here's what I want you to understand. This opportunity window is closing. Every day that passes, more smart money is positioning itself for what's coming. Every day that passes, the available supply gets tighter. Every day that passes, we get closer to the regulatory and institutional catalysts that are going to drive this market higher. I've been in crypto for over a decade, and I've never seen a setup like this. The confluence of regulatory progress, institutional adoption, technological superiority, and supply constraints is creating a perfect storm for XRP holders. But you have to be positioned before the storm hits, not after. The people who are going to make generational wealth from this opportunity are the ones who understand the fundamentals and position themselves accordingly. They're not trying to time the market or trade the volatility. They're accumulating quality assets at reasonable prices and holding for the long-term wealth creation cycle. This isn't about getting rich quick. This is about positioning yourself for the biggest wealth transfer in human history. The old financial system is breaking down, and a new one is being built on blockchain rails. XRP isn't just participating in this transition, it's leading it. I want to be crystal clear about something though. This market is volatile and unpredictable. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. There are risks involved in any investment, especially in crypto. You should never invest more than you can afford to lose. And you should always do your own research before making any financial decisions. But if you've done the research, if you understand the fundamentals, if you believe in the long-term vision, then you know what you need to do. The question isn't whether XRP is going to be successful. The pieces are already in place. The question is whether you're going to be positioned to benefit from that success. The institutional money is coming. The regulatory clarity is coming. The ETFs are coming. The central bank partnerships are coming. The traditional finance integration is coming. All of these catalysts are going to drive demand for XRP while the supply remains constrained. But none of this happens overnight. Building new financial infrastructure takes time. Regulatory processes take time. Institutional adoption takes time. This is why patience is so critical for XRP holders. The people who panic sell during temporary price declines or get distracted by other opportunities are going to miss out on the biggest wealth creation event of their lifetimes. I know it's hard to hold when the price is volatile. I know it's tempting to chase other opportunities when XRP isn't moving as fast as you'd like, but remember why you invested in XRP in the first place. Remember the fundamentals that attracted you to this opportunity. Remember that the best investments require patience and conviction. The XRP community has been through a lot over the past few years. We've dealt with regulatory uncertainty, exchange delistings, endless lawsuits, and constant FUD from competitors. But we've also seen incredible resilience, technological advancement, partnership growth, and community strength. The people who stuck through the difficult times are going to be rewarded for their patience and conviction. What's happening with XRP right now reminds me of what happened with Amazon stock in the early 2000s. After the dot-com crash, Amazon's stock price was beaten down, and everyone thought e-commerce was a failed experiment. But Jeff Bezos and his team kept building, kept improving, kept expanding. The people who understood the long-term vision and held through the difficult times became incredibly wealthy. XRP is in a similar position today. The regulatory headwinds have kept institutional money on the sidelines. The bear market has shaken out weak hands, but the technology keeps improving. The partnerships keep growing and the use cases keep expanding. When the regulatory environment improves and institutional money starts flowing in, the people who held through this period are going to be positioned for incredible returns. I'm not telling you to mortgage your house or bet your life savings on XRP. I'm telling you to understand the opportunity, position yourself appropriately, and have the patience to let this play out over the long term. The fundamentals have never been stronger, the catalysts are aligning, and the supply dynamics are incredibly favorable. This is your wake-up call, XRP holders. This is your reminder that you're not just holding a cryptocurrency, you're holding a piece of the future financial infrastructure. This is your encouragement to zoom out, focus on the big picture, and remember why you believed in this opportunity in the first place. The next few years are going to be incredible for people who understand what's happening and position themselves accordingly. The wealth transfer from the old financial system to the new financial system is going to create more millionaires than any previous technological revolution. XRP holders who have patience and conviction are going to be at the center of this transformation. So, my message to you is simple. Understand what you own, believe in the long-term vision, and have the patience to let this opportunity fully develop. The institutional money is coming, the regulatory clarity is coming, and the adoption is accelerating. Your job is to be positioned when all of these catalysts converge. This is not financial advice, but this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Don't let short-term volatility distract you from long-term wealth creation. Don't let fear and uncertainty keep you from positioning yourself for generational change. And don't let other people's opinions override your own research and conviction. The future of finance is being built right now, and XRP is at the center of it. The question isn't whether this transformation is going to happen. It's already happening. The question is whether you're going to be positioned to benefit from it. The choice is yours, but the window of opportunity won't stay open forever. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this message. I hope it helps you understand the magnitude of what's happening with XRP and motivates you to stay focused on the long-term opportunity. The best is yet to come for XRP holders who have patience and conviction. Stay strong, stay informed, and stay positioned for what's coming next.